The United States stands at a crossroads. The path to a clean energy future is fraught with political obstacles and ideological divides. At the heart of this struggle lies solar energy, a technology with the potential to reshape our economy, environment, and way of life. The stakes are high and the outcome remains uncertain. On one side, we see the urgent need to transition away from fossil fuels, driven by the undeniable realities of climate change. The scientific consensus is clear. Our reliance on coal, oil, and gas is pushing our planet to the brink. Solar energy, along with other renewable sources, offers a beacon of hope, a chance to mitigate the worst effects of climate change and create a more sustainable future. Yet the path to a solar-powered future is not without its challenges. Political polarization, economic anxieties, and misinformation campaigns threaten to derail progress. The very real and immediate impacts of climate change, from extreme weather events to rising sea levels, are often overshadowed by partisan rhetoric and short-term thinking. In this context, the battle over solar energy funding becomes a microcosm of a larger struggle. It is a battle not just over energy policy, but over the future of our planet and our collective responsibility to address the climate crisis. The decisions made today will have far-reaching consequences for generations to come. The Biden administration entered office with an ambitious agenda to combat climate change and accelerate the transition to a clean energy economy. Central to this vision was a suite of policies designed to incentivize renewable energy development, including solar power. These initiatives, backed by billions of dollars in federal funding, promised to jumpstart solar projects across the nation, particularly in communities hit hardest by the economic and environmental burdens of fossil fuel dependence. The EPA's Solar for All program, a cornerstone of Biden's clean energy plan, aimed to empower low and moderate-income households with the benefits of solar energy. By providing grants and technical assistance, the program sought to make rooftop solar installations more accessible and affordable for families struggling to keep up with rising energy costs. This commitment to energy justice, to ensuring that the benefits of clean energy reach all Americans, represented a significant shift in policy. The initial response to Biden's clean energy initiatives was overwhelmingly positive. A surge in private investment, coupled with renewed enthusiasm from state and local governments, created a sense of momentum, a belief that a brighter, more sustainable future was within reach. From rural communities to urban centers, the promise of clean energy jobs and lower electricity bills resonated with Americans across the political spectrum. However, this sense of optimism was short-lived. The political winds shifted once again, casting a shadow over the future of solar energy in America. The very programs designed to accelerate the clean energy transition, to create jobs and to lower energy costs for working families would soon face an existential threat. On January 20th, 2025, the landscape of American energy policy shifted dramatically. In a move that sent shockwaves through the renewable energy sector, President Trump announced a sweeping freeze on federal funding for clean energy projects, including those related to solar power. This decision, met with immediate condemnation from environmental groups and clean energy advocates, threw into jeopardy countless projects nationwide, leaving communities and businesses grappling with uncertainty and a sense of betrayal. The funding freeze, justified by the administration as a necessary step to review agency operations and ensure fiscal responsibility, was widely seen as a politically motivated attack on the legacy of the previous administration. Critics argued that the move would stifle innovation, cost jobs, and undermine America's ability to compete in the rapidly growing global clean energy market. The freeze impacted not only large-scale solar farms but also community-based projects, including those specifically designed to benefit low-income families and communities disproportionately affected by pollution. The EPA's Solar for All program, once a beacon of hope for energy justice, was particularly vulnerable to the funding freeze. With its pipeline of projects suddenly in limbo, the program's ability to deliver on its promise of affordable clean energy access for all Americans was called into question. The freeze threatened to exacerbate existing energy inequalities, leaving behind the very communities most in need of clean energy solutions. The funding freeze sent a chilling message to the solar industry and investors, signaling a lack of commitment to clean energy from the highest levels of government. The uncertainty created by the freeze had an immediate chilling effect on investment, stalling projects and jeopardizing jobs in a sector that had been experiencing rapid growth and job creation just months earlier. Section 4, Indiana, a microcosm of the national struggle. The impact of Trump's funding freeze reverberated across the nation, but its effects were felt most acutely in states like Indiana, where the promise of solar energy had ignited hopes for a more sustainable and equitable energy future. Indiana, a state with a long history of reliance on fossil fuels, had seen a surge in interest in solar power in recent years, driven in part by the Biden administration's clean energy initiatives. The EPA's Solar for All program had earmarked $117 million for solar projects in Indiana, a significant investment that promised to benefit communities across the state. One such project, a $4.42 million initiative in Columbus, Indiana, aimed to provide clean energy to over 530 low and moderate income households. Led by a dedicated group of volunteers, the project had secured the necessary permits, finalized designs, and garnered overwhelming community support. The funding freeze brought the Columbus project and countless others like it across Indiana to a standstill. The abrupt halt in federal funding threw the project's timeline into disarray, leaving organizers scrambling to find alternative sources of funding and facing the possibility of significant delays. For the families who stood to benefit from the project, the freeze represented a cruel blow, delaying the prospect of lower energy bills and cleaner air. The situation in Indiana highlighted the human cost of the funding freeze, demonstrating how policy decisions made in Washington, D.C. could have real and immediate consequences for families and communities across the country. The freeze threatened to widen the gap between those who could afford clean energy and those who could not, undermining the very principles of energy justice that the Solar for All program was designed to uphold. Section 5, a tale of two-state solar success in red America. While the funding freeze cast a pall over solar energy prospects in states like Indiana, other parts of the country, even those traditionally considered unfriendly territory for renewable energy, continued to experience remarkable growth in solar adoption. Texas and Florida, both led by Republican governors and known for their embrace of fossil fuels, emerged as unlikely champions of solar power, demonstrating the growing bipartisan appeal of this clean energy source. Texas, the nation's energy behemoth and a state synonymous with oil and gas production, defied expectations by becoming a leader in solar energy deployment. Driven by a combination of factors including abundant sunshine, falling solar panel prices, and supportive state policies, Texas saw an explosion in solar installations, both large-scale solar farms and rooftop solar on homes and businesses. By 2025, Texas boasted the second highest installed solar capacity in the nation, trailing only California. Florida, a state highly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, including sea level rise and more intense hurricanes, also witnessed a surge in solar energy adoption. While state policies played a role, the driving force behind Florida's solar boom was consumer demand, driven by a growing awareness of the economic and environmental benefits of solar power. Homeowners, businesses, and even utility companies in Florida recognized the advantages of solar, embracing it as a way to lower energy costs, reduce reliance on fossil fuels, and enhance energy independence. The success of solar energy in Texas and Florida, two states often associated with conservative politics and fossil fuel interests, underscored the growing appeal of solar across the political spectrum. It demonstrated that clean energy was not a partisan issue, but rather a pragmatic solution to economic and environmental challenges that resonated with Americans regardless of their political affiliation.